It turns out names are hard, especially remembering all the names of the people working around you, at least according to President Trump. Now, in a New York Times piece detailing John Bolton's time in office, John Bolton, of course, is a massive right-winger, a massive war hawk, so I'm not necessarily saddened by this story, but it is pretty funny. Journalists Mark Landler and Helene Cooper revealed the former Bush official has a somewhat distant relationship with the president. So distant that the president can't even really remember his name. That's funny. In fact, they wrote, despite being a contemporary of Mr. Trump's, however, Mr. Bolton is not a member of the inner circle. He does not have the same relationship with Mr. Trump that he had with Mr. Bush. I think that's a good thing. Sometimes with aides, the president refers to him as Mike Bolton. Hey, Mike. Mike, get over here. I got to talk about Iran with you. Mike, why isn't he coming over? His name's John, sir. Oh. Nobody knew names could be so complicated. Now, the article, of course, does try to explain. Oh, no. It's because John Bolton is an outsider to the administration because, well, he doesn't necessarily agree with Trump on his hawkish views, right? I mean, the Times story, for instance, goes into officials working backwards to craft some sort of plan around the president's decision to withdraw troops from Syria. But now, the thing is, the weird thing here is about this is that Donald Trump has never been worried about policy. So, look, President Trump, for example, he was for the Iraq War before he was against it. It's one of those things where he's like, oh, yeah, it turns out the Iraq War is a bad idea after we did it. And so he's kind of like Johnny-come-lately to the party. But then when asked about it prior, he's like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it'd be okay. Wait. You can't... See, that's the thing. He never really had a concrete position because he does not actually care to look into the nuances of the issues. He just doesn't care. He has no intellectual curiosity. So, to say that he's an outsider because, oh, he doesn't necessarily agree with Iran. No, look, Trump was out there saying during the Obama administration that we shipped billions of dollars. We just gave billions of dollars to Iran. No, we didn't. That was Iran's money. But that was the justification for taking away the Iran deal. Or one of the justifications, right? That we just gave them all this money. And then they violated the agreement anyway. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. That is a complete fabrication. But again, he's not a smart person. He's not a very stable genius, right? So the fact that he doesn't know Mike, right? Or that he calls him Mike, which is funny because Mike Pence is, okay, so he's surrounded by Mikes, right? You got Mike Pompeo, and then you got Mike Pence. Now, funny enough, when he was in Indiana, Mike Pence was like, oh, you know what they call me in Indiana? They call me Mike. No shit. No shit. Of course, that's your name. So I guess he's got all these mics around him. He's getting like super confused. So I don't know, Mike Bolton. No, it's John Bolton, you dumbass. You should know your national security advisor. Okay, but he doesn't. He doesn't care to know because he's not a smart person, right? Look, the reality of why he's forgetting these people's names is because it's not because of policy, right? His policies are completely abhorrent, right? And yes, Trump does have some, at least lip service on staying out of wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, except that he hasn't actually done anything other than say, well, we're going to pull out of Syria. But then, oh, now it's getting delayed because, Trump had some people talk to him, and he's like, oh, well, I can't necessarily do that. And he actually did launch airstrikes against Syria, against Syrian targets. So he's been continuing this war, right? So he's continuing to go on this war footing, despite promises to the opposite. So it's not policy. No, the president is because he's an idiot. The president's dumb. Okay? And may have some sort of mental problem. like some sort of mental deficiency. And that's not like actually ragging on people with mental deficiencies. Look, you can go through and he rambles through his speeches and he doesn't know what he's talking about half the time, and then he forgets people's names. He may literally have a mental problem, which would make him unfit for office, which would make, of course, if you're there, it basically kind of confirms some of this talk that's been going on about the invoking the 25th Amendment. So I'm just saying. But anyway, now I've got more examples of, by the way, him forgetting things that should be fairly simple to remember. He, for example, called Kansas City, Missouri, St. Louis while in Kansas City. Okay, nothing, look, it's not like crazy on its own, right? But he also called wildfire-ravaged Paradise, California, Pleasure, California, which is neither paradise nor pleasure. So, and then, of course, when talking about Puerto Rico and getting aid to Puerto Rico, he once remarked, well, it's difficult because Puerto Rico is an island surrounded by water. Big water. Ocean water. Yeah, okay. Great. And then, of course, if you heard him talk about nuclear, it gets worse. So, again, he's not a smart person. Not only that, but he called Customs and Border Protection CBC, which that's not true. He spelled his wife's name wrong, Melania. Okay, all right. And even endorsed the wrong Republican in a tweet by accident. Again, people make mistakes, of course, but he continuously makes mistakes. He continuously lies about things, and forgets very simple things, gets distracted very easily, doesn't read briefings. In fact, he doesn't have the mental focus to be able to focus on something, a half-page briefing, to be able to read it to actually get the information. There's something going on up there. I don't know what it is, but I swear there's something, or maybe there's nothing going on up there, in a literal sense. I think at the very least he either doesn't care, has no intellectual curiosity, and that was probably true beforehand, even if there is no mental problem. Or again, his worst case is his mental state is not very good and continues to deteriorate. That's not good when it comes to the most powerful man in the world. So, look, I'm not saying that it wasn't the right time before, but maybe they really ought to start thinking about the 25th. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.